Everybody, welcome to Night Yard. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and with me, as always, is my partner out of crime. What's happening,
Right.
Russ?
Nothing. Tired of working
Right?
already.
You know how easy it is to pick up a conspiracy charge in the feds. I think just having us in the same screens probably got somebody all sketched out.
Yeah, get that
Telling you,
racketeering
bro.
going.
That's what
You're
I'm
talking
telling
about a
that Rico
pyramid
crap.
scheme.
Dude.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's no joke at all. It's funny that you say that because I was having a conversation with someone a couple of days ago. They're a pretty big fan of Sammy the Bull's show, and I duck in there and watch duck in from time to time and
I got
watch
you.
that. I don't know if you catch some of that.
Uh-huh.
They're kind of doing a little pushing towards some prison reform. And hold on one second. Can you give me a 5x5?
Yeah, what do you need?
I just lost it. I
Five
mean, I
by
got
five?
nothing but you.
Really?
Every single comment just disappeared. Every single thing on my screen. Everybody can still hear me.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
can hear you
Russ.
perfect.
Good. I'm flying blind. You're the comment section.
Everybody else says you're good. 5 by 5.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm not exactly sure. And I'm scared to hell to touch anything. Isn't that pathetic? But I kid you
Right.
not, dude. I am afraid to touch anything. Hey, what did you think of Derek Chauvin getting stabbed? Were you surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised at all. Especially in your home state. It was going to be only a matter
Yeah.
of time. He's on a sensitive needs yard, okay, and he's still got hit. So what's that tell you about
Yeah.
Masterson? Okay,
A
and Masterson,
sensitive need yard for an ex-cop. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they usually try to take care of those guys on the inside. Crazy thing too, Russ, is they had him on a yard with like 350 guys or something like that. They got that yard shut down to nothing. I mean, that has got to
really,
be. I guess that's like the cat's got to be out of the bag on where all the high-profile people are. Like we all know now, right? That's
right,
apparently what
right.
they were shutting. When I did the show on that, I was telling everybody I was in when they kicked everybody out of there. In fact, I was already in Oregon, and we got about 10 really solid white dudes in one day. That he was incarcerated in Tucson, Arizona, at the
Tucson, yeah,
Federal Corrections Institution, the FCI,
that's
which is
yeah,
odd
yeah,
in and of itself, right? Like that's super odd in and of itself. Anyone that I know of would have assumed he would have been at a United States penitentiary. The guy's he's got a murder beef. That's not usually where they put guys that have a murder charge. FCIs are the custody level is low enough to where when you first start out in the feds, you got to start out at the highest custody level and work your way down, depending on your crime. That's not everybody. If you
right,
if you got caught peeing in a federal park, that actually can get you prison time, or you get caught littering in a federal park, or you get a DWI on a reservation, right? If you're Native American and you get a DWI on the reservation because there's no reservation prison, you go to the feds, right? So we used to see a ton of people in there for, in case my first comment blew from Tommy. Oh, Pam, that's such a kind thing to say. I appreciate that. That's a very, very kind thing to say. Anybody that has
yeah.
any questions, the easiest way to get a question answered is to put the word question right in front of
Here
your
we go.
question so that we can
Here we
see it.
go.
You know what's funny? I just saw your cat and thought it was mine. Did you guys see that? If you play that back later, give me a timestamp. I'm at like 5:11 at 5 minutes 11 seconds. You get a
Like your
timestamp
cat
on
was
that because when your cat
walking
jumped
over to
up, I
my
thought it was
screen.
squirrel. Yeah, I thought it was squirrel. I was waiting for it to come over my shoulder. That is really funny. Yeah, blessings to you too, Pam. I'm glad you're here. I really am. super legendary. I'm not surprised that I'm really surprised he's at an FCI. I really am. That is not the kind of normally you're going to end up at a USP with that kind of crime. Now, maybe the custody level at that FCI, maybe everybody there's a high profile killer for all I know, right?
Would I have anything to do with the amount of time he had? What, 5 years or something like that?
Well, the normally because of what the crime is, right?
Right.
Anything that has anything to do with taking somebody's life, and you're going to be at a, you're at a USP.
A high level, yeah.
I mean, he should, by all accounts, he should be at a USP to be sure. And the reason, look, you could change. You could say, okay, well, this prison's now a USP, and that prison's now an FCI, right? Like that's not hard to do. But in the case of FCI Tucson, there are no guard towers, right?
Right.
And that's very often the case at the old FCIs because they were not designed to be for dangerous people. You see, back in the day, very few people went to the feds, honestly. So you got a lot of people that committed white collar crimes, and the only kind of criminals other than like blue collar criminals, gangsters that ended up in prison were people that were doing huge crime, or they were crossing state lines, right? Or it was a kidnapping, or it was a bank robbery. That was it. I mean, honestly, that was it. And then all of a sudden, anything over 500 grams of meth or they just the laws went from you had to be caught with a half a ton to you get caught with a half a pound. Question, says Sherry Fullerton. If a person gets arrested for selling to a confidential informant and the confidential informant runs and can't be found, can the person still be charged? That's really an excellent question. And
that's a tricky one.
I can't answer it. What's that? Yeah, I can't
answer it. It's
a
tricky one because you got to face that accusers.
Case by case. And it's going to be a case by case basis because, and here's the reason I say that. I know that there have been cases where depositions have been read into the record because the party in question had a way of making these people decide to run and not be found. Right? That was very popular among the guys with the last names that ended in vowels, right? For a long period of time. If you just got rid of the witness, you didn't have a problem. Now they film depositions. They do all kinds of things where if the witness can't be found and they believe that, very often you can still get that stuff entered. It just depends on the judge and the situation. That's been my experience.
Do you see the question from Steve?
Here we go.
That's the one I told you.
I asked Russ permission to call him Wood. Is that a word that is earned or just used? Well, normally, until a guy knows otherwise, like you get off the bus and walk on the yard, the first thing a guy's going to say is, "Hey, Wood, what's up?" Right? Like that is the normal greeting among the white guys until they know otherwise. And if the next time you see him, that cat doesn't call you Wood, you're probably in a really bad situation right off jump.
You're an inmate or a convict.
Yeah.
Inmate or a convict. So the convict is a Wood, and then an inmate is just an inmate.
An inmate can't keep their word, right? There's a lot that goes along with being an inmate, right? You would never ask an inmate to shoot jiggers, right? To watch while you're getting a tattoo or making wine or do whatever, right? The fellas call that shooting jiggers.
Or hold anything.
You would never have a guy do that, right?
Yep. Here, hold this for me.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Right? That's only the kind of thing that you do with another convict. And this is why I'm telling you, it used to boggle my mind that that people would call themselves convicts and do it with pride. Like I remember when I first got to prison thinking, why in the name of God would you want to be proud of that? But what you come to realize is that within that world, if a guy's calling you a convict, it's because you have passed muster. as far as they're
Yeah, you
concerned.
earned
You're
it.
solid and trustworthy. Yeah.
You got your stripes. You definitely earned your stripes. So
Question.
yeah, I was just looking at that.
Do you think that the gentleman that escaped, that was my cat that time. Do you think that the gentleman that escaped from Alcatraz actually made it out, or do you think they were lost in the waters? I think after the multitude of documentaries that I've watched, I am leaning with the fact that this gentleman got away.
Yeah, me too. I should have my cat walk in the other way, and it'd be the other half of your cat.
It's really funny. You know what? Here's a good question. Kathy says, any updates on Danny Masters and his future home or the weapons? Oddly enough, no. Radio silence on both up to this point. It would be, by the way, the toaster. The funnier reference is a potato. I heard one recently where I was asked if I was filming with a russet potato, which I thought I don't know. I think it's better than a toaster. I'm not mad at you. Toaster's good, but the russet potato thing really had me laughing my butt off.
Is the microwave running while you're trying to do this show?
You know what it comes down to? I mean, here's really what it comes right down to. The internet right now where we are, I am going to have to erect a tower. Like I'm going to have to do something so extreme to get internet the speed at which I just left. Like that, I had for the first 2 years that, but I promise you, I'm working on it. You know what I mean? My goal is to actually put out a decent product. I promise you that is actually where we're trying to go with this.
Send your brother up on the roof with a satellite dish.
Man, if I can get my brother up on the roof, he'd be there anyway. No, you know what? I'm actually talking about putting a bocce court on the roof. This whole flat roof thing it's just screaming for a bocce court. Little night lights, go out there, play a little night bocce. Yeah. And he says, I love toast. God bless you, hon. Big fan of toast myself. I'm not going to lie to you. Huge fan of toast. No, so here's the thing on the whole internet thing. We are literally at this point, we have called in the big dogs, and we are going to be getting the gnarliest, nastiest. However, it has required something more extreme than you can get from just the people down the street. For whatever reason, living where we live, that's just not possible. And you know what's funny is I bitch about things like this now, right? Like, things like my internet speed, things like that actually really bother me. And if you think about I did 13 years without the ability to make a phone call. You know what I mean? I did all of that time where you could, you got 300 minutes a month is what you would get. You got 300 minutes a month that you can use on the phone. You get it in 15-minute increments, right? And after each 15-minute call, you got to wait a minimum of 15 minutes before you can make another call. So you think to yourself, that dude right there doesn't use his phone ever. Like I'm looking at this dude and he never uses, right? His phone.
Phone
How
time.
about I buy your phone? So you go over and I'll buy your phone time, right? I'll send a little money to you. In the feds, you're going to the hole for that, right? And I got busted for it 4 times, right? Just wanting to call my wife more than 300 minutes. But I would get to a new yard and I'd be like, hey, do they bust people for using other people's phones here? Oh, no, I've never heard of that. First guy, right? What that meant was nobody on that yard was stupid enough to be doing it, I guess, because I got caught the very first time. Russ, what is your cat's name?
My cat's name, which one? I've got 2. They're both black, but Bumper is the one that always comes up here. Bumper. And we call him Bumper because he bumps his head against everything. I mean, it doesn't matter. He'll fly through the air and hit the couch head first, chair head first, table head first. He's just dumb like that.
Right.
Most lovable cat I've ever had, but he's just dumb. So we call him Bumper. My other one is minks.
Oh,
Yeah,
this is
bumper.
not such a dumb question. This is not such a dumb question at all. The
Oh
question
no.
is, okay, odd one. Do you believe some prisons are really haunted? Russ, what do you think?
Yes. Yes, I've been to Old Folsom. I've been to St. Quentin, and things that don't make sense even in the middle of the night when you're up. And I've been in Old Folsom where uh, I've been in the Old Folsom where the prison doors are a, just a sheet of metal with holes, and
Uh-huh.
they slot you in at night. They were dug into a wall. It seems
Yep.
like, and we hear strange things at night because guys, you know, might be guys doing things, but I doubt it. But there's weird things. The fan will be moving, and they set the huge fan up on a wall just so it blows in one direction. Wake up in the morning, and it would be the other direction. And it's 25 feet off the ground. The COs don't care about it. There's strange things that go on. Definitely.
Ben Turner says Folsom is kind of famous for that. I've heard that too. That's the reason that I said, "Hey Russ, why don't you go?" I knew you had been to Folsom and Quentin, and both are famous. Like I've talked to so many. I did a lot of time in California. I just did it in the feds, but they tend to keep the Cali boys in Cali, right? So I knew a bunch of guys that have been through both, and all of them got stories. I swear to
Oh
God,
yeah.
all of them got
St.
stories.
Quentin.
I
St.
never
Quentin.
met one that just said, it makes noises or whatever. Like everybody was pretty
Yeah.
freaked out.
St. Quentin. They had the guards that were killed. I forget what it was about. It was like the St. Quentin Six or something like that. Um, where guards got killed by guns, and you can look out at the yard at night, some areas, and you see things that just kind of float by. But you're right on the bay too, so it all
Yeah.
depends on what you think.
Starts playing with your head and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. I
It
mean,
does.
the only prison, I mean, I did time at some really old prisons like Lewisburg is, and every famous gangster that ever lived went through Lewisburg, right? Literally. So there's a lot of history there and there's a lot of death there. But I never got really creeped out there at all. But I was at NSP, Nevada State Prison, and I was only there for 3 weeks. And that place scared the ever loving crap out of me around the clock. I mean, it was a scary old prison. And like you said, like when I saw the hole, they actually walk you by on the way in, and it is dug into the side of a rock. And then there's a prison door, and they were like, they said, big as hell. You can see big as hell carved in the back of the stone, JJ. And they say that's Jesse
Mhm.
James. Well, I mean, what are you going to say? Of course you're going to.
Right,
But
right.
I don't care who was in there. It was in his day, right? Whoever was carving on that rock was doing it a long time ago. Like, I had no desire to go
Right.
anywhere. But and then you
Yeah.
find out. I mean, it's that whole prison, bro. They ended up shutting it down. They're going to turn it into a museum. But they had on the way to the chow hall, you had to sprint through this tunnel, right? And I mean,
Mhm.
people sprinted. You could smell copper in that tunnel. Like people have been getting
Really.
stabbed in that tunnel since they opened that prison. I'm telling you, it was the creepiest. Yeah, that place scared the crap out of me. They came in and said, "Hey, your paperwork's in. We're moving you over for the drug program." I was zippity doo dah all over the place. I wanted out of there. But I have never been in a. I've never been allowed a pet fostering program while in prison. I was at a place that had 3 dogs or 4 dogs, but
Mhm.
it was so hard to get. I mean, the criteria to be put on the list to even be considered to work with the dogs, what your crimes were was like, you if there was any violence, you weren't on the list. Like even if there was
Right.
a fist fight, right, whatever, you're not getting it. And then
Right.
you couldn't have infractions, and your sentence had to be so long. But I think they're fantastic programs.
Oh yeah. They
You
do
ever
a
work with
lot.
dogs
I
or anything
mean,
in prison?
no, out here where I live now, they have that cat program where they got cats, and they do have dogs too. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't know where. But I know northern Indiana, they have a cat program where you can have a cat, or if you're a lifer or something like that, you can get an animal, and that does a lot. And people will kill you over their animal. I mean, you mess with that cat, it's over.
Oh
There's
yes,
not going to
make
be
no
any way
mistake.
stopping. Oh yeah,
Make no mistake. Yep, they will absolutely, and I've seen that so many times. Yeah, they'll shut a place down over animals.
yeah.
Sherry Fullerton says, "What percentage of relationships last when one is in and the spouse is on the outside?" I'll be honest with you; it really depends on. I have seen women that have stayed with guys for 25 years. I've seen women that have stayed with guys forever. Now, does it last when they get out? I'll be really honest with you. Very often, the shock of freedom, at the same time as either getting with somebody for the first time or being with somebody that you haven't been with in that long, is a shock to the system for both parties that I think is almost too much to get through very often. Now,
Once once they took away conjugal visits from California inmates,
yeah,
yeah, things started really tapering off. But if you had a conjugal visit, I'd seen guys that were together with their wives for a while, but same again, they're doing business. You know what I mean?
right.
That's where you're getting
Yeah,
everything in. So you get
yeah,
3 days.
absolutely. That's where everything, yep.
You can have 3 days or 3 nights or 2 days and 3 nights with your spouse. They bring in anything they want to cook, uh, anything like that. You stay with them separate in a trailer or a
Well,
little
and I think
apartment.
it obviously kept people a whole lot closer.
Yes, it did.
Unfortunately, and this Sherry would be my advice to anybody if they know anybody or they're in that situation where there's somebody. The most important thing in the entire world when that person gets out, they better be in treatment. Like they better be in treatment the second their foot hits the other side of the gate, because
Yep.
it's really a different thing staying sober in prison than it is staying sober on the street. It is apples and oranges. And I mean, I spent the entire time I was in prison doing nothing but focusing on sobriety, reading books about it, running groups like I do now. This is what I did in prison, right? At the end of my sentence, this was all that I did. Yet, the second I got out, man, it was like I felt like the entire world was pressing in on me from all sides. And I was a guy that was gung
Practice.
ho and ready to do everything right. And it was hard as hell to stay sober. It really was. Fortunately, the one thing I'll say about the halfway house, the food sucked. The medical sucked. Everything was bad. But if you said, I'm hurting, I feel like using, they had somebody sitting in front of you in 6 seconds. I will give them credit. If you told them you were hurting, they had somebody that, and they not just to show up, they had people that were ready to listen and talk to you. And they talked me through some really rugged days in the first 6 months out. I'm not going to lie to you. It's rugged times. But knowing guys in there, I walk into the room and the guy's, got a shoelace in his teeth and he's tying off his arm. I'm like, oh, you got to be crapping me. You know what I mean? Like walk in and walk out in a half circle, just gritting my teeth. Like, you got to be kidding me, dude. What are my odds? Right? I got no shot. And I went down, I can't tell the woman that, but I went downstairs and said, I just need to decompress. Deeming has a question. Will the guards face any consequences for the Derek Strawman being stabbed on their watch? My gut would say absolutely not in any way. And the reason is, number one, the Bureau of Prisons right now is heinously understaffed. And that's everywhere. And you just keep hearing about it. And I guarantee they're going to say that in this case. You're just going to hear it because they can't keep people in these jobs. They really can't. It's a really hard thing right now to get people to stick around. They unalive themselves at an amazing rate. It's a very difficult job, and they're having a hard time getting people. People would rather not work right now than work there. And that's kind of a reality. Now, even if they were fully staffed, they might catch a little browbeating from the LT for not tossing cells and finding the weapon or whatever. But this just happens. You know what I mean? If there's a guy in prison that wants to stab somebody, nothing is going to stop him. There's nothing the guards can do. There's nothing anybody else can do. If I get up Monday morning and I say Russ is getting stabbed on the way to the chow hall, Russ doesn't know I'm coming. Russ is getting hit, and it's the other way around. If Russ is like, Tommy's getting hit on the way to the chow hall, I won't see it coming, and I promise you I'll get stabbed. Right? Anybody can hit anybody in prison, I promise.
But then again, if you're my homeboy, I'm not gonna let that happen. So
no question. No, that happens a lot. And it's the reason it's the reason that guys like us, honestly, when someone starts to crap on a friend or whatever, and you just sort of arch your back, and maybe I do it too much, but
crack your neck.
It's a different world, you know what I mean? And you really you really are your brother's keeper. And if a dude's your friend, that expression, hey man, I got your six, it literally means I'm watching your ass. It doesn't mean it literally means if your back is turned, don't worry about it. I'm looking to make sure nobody, because that's an environment where
there are guards that will even tell us or let us know what somebody's in for if it's a bad charge or something like that. They'll nonchalantly throw their little 2 cents in and say, hey man, that guy right there, check his paperwork. And before you know it, he's off on the other side of the building doing a count. And that person with bad paperwork has their door popped. It's over.
The longer you're in prison, the better a job you get, the better a chance you've got of hearing all of that. Right? Like, when I worked in the kitchen in Terre Haute, my job was directly to the director. So the director for all of the food and beverage crap for the whole prison was my boss. I sat basically in his office, right, all day long. And I would say to him, hey man, I got a dude I'm telling you, man, I know this one ain't any good. Run this dude for me. And he'd go, I can't do that, dude. And I'd go, look, man, you don't even have to tell me what he's in for, man. Just nod your head. Tell me if I'm right, dude. Tell me if my instincts are right. I'm not going to do
go like that.
I swear to you. Yeah, and he can go like this. Man, I can't tell you things like that. I can't tell you things like that. Don't be stupid. We can't do things like that. But the longer you're there, or they'd say to you straight out the gate, hey, that guy you're hanging out with, don't hang out with him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I've heard that one on more than one occasion. You don't want to hang out with that dude you're hanging out with. Like, plain and simple. And
Ben Turner had a good
at the beginning of my sentence, at the beginning of your sentence, you're like, you know what? I'm going to find out what the hell that guy's talking about. I'm going to stab this dude. I'm going to get him off the yard. I mean, honestly, you get caught up in that mentality and you really start thinking that. I mean, I don't know. I did. I really did. I started doing that. I want to see that dude's paperwork. I want to know what that dude's in for. And you just start to get lost into a world that is honestly pretty messed up. And I think sometimes you start rooting for a bad outcome. Like you're looking at the cat that came through the door and you're not liking the way he looks from Jump Street. And you're thinking, man, I hope this dude doesn't come out and get paperwork. I really would like to run this dude out. And honestly, it's a sick thing. And then I remember toward the end of my sentence, and like when I got shipped out to Oregon, to Sheridan, Oregon, and that yard's different, bro. Like there were weirdos on that yard, and there were rats on that yard and everything else. And I got there, and they tell me in the office, the guy's like, "Look, man, there are people here with lousy paperwork. This, he's looking at my jacket. He's like, this isn't Victorville, dude. He's like, the paperwork here is going to suck. You start checking paperwork. He's like, you're going to be getting rid of a lot of people." And what we did was we just had a group inside, right? There's like 5 of us to kick it. And, you want to sit with the 5 of us. You're going to produce some paperwork. You want to hang out, anywhere near the 5 of us. We would like to see some paperwork. But, my boss would say to me, that dude's no good. And where in the first year of my sentence, I might have done something about it. I'd be like, la, 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 I don't want to hear that crap, dude. Don't tell me that. I don't want to know what he's in here for. I'm sorry. I know that's probably not super solid convict stuff, but toward the end of my sentence, I was terrified. Were you afraid of catching more time?
No, see, that's the thing. I mean, you remember who my cellie was, and then being I didn't really have to. When you go on S time, you get 2 weeks where you just don't work or anything like that. And he would just tell me, hey, just kick it in the sill, don't do anything. You don't have to worry about nothing now. I'm like, all right, cool. So I was out of it. And that was basically because he was, the big homeboy and looking out for me. And, I appreciated it, but don't think I wouldn't have. I would have said, I
Right.
would have done what I had to do. Scariest thing. Now you can go for
Sir
this one.
Sedgwick Walker. Here you go, Russ. Scariest thing
Oh,
that
the
happened while
scary.
you were locked up.
While I was in prison, watching a
Yep.
guy fly off the third tier,
Yeah.
watching a guy go off the third tier, hit tables and then hit the ground. I
Yeah,
was
that's
and
just ugly.
stepping out. That was midway, but the first time I saw anything was when I stepped out of the cell and stepped over the guy who had his throat cut off the chow. He was laying right there in front of my door. I just kind of stepped over and walked over him and shut the door and went to chow. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, well, and that kind of callousness kind of just, I mean, that's how you gotta be. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You ain't stopping to help anybody or anything else.
Nope.
So I was working in the kitchen in that little place I was just talking about, and we had a guy back there, and he went by Johnson Bay, JB. And JB was in an argument with a gentleman who had just painted a mural on the wall as an inmate worker. He wanted another chicken patty. Right? Now I ran ordering for all that stuff. It's 7 cents, right? That's what we pay for one. So he goes, "Hey man, throw another chicken patty in the deep fryer." I was like, "Sure." Right? What do I care? Right? I'm not paying for any of this stuff. Why do I care if this guy? Well, JB decided that he didn't think that guy should get a chicken patty. And he just sort of got in the guy's face about it. And he was like, "No, dude, you've had 2 already." And I'm like, "Who cares? I'll go grab another box." You know what I mean? We got like 60 boxes of these in the back. We're not going to run out. You know what I mean? And he's like, "No, the dude gets paid X amount for doing this. And he sits in here and eats like 4 of these a day." And I'm like, "JB, who cares, bro? Give him the chicken patty." And the guy grabbed him. Guy's last name was Sergeant. I'll never forget this dude. And he grabbed him, and I swear to you, I thought he was just going to mouth kiss him. It's exactly what it looked like. He grabbed him and he went like this, and then just proceeded to remove the man's nose with his mouth. and I was, and at the time, I'm dead serious, man. You could look. I'm guarantee you can look the incident up. But I'm sitting there with, right next to my boss is there, Drew Peterson, the former cop that made his wife disappear, are all in the same room. And the guy goes like this and proceeds to spit this gentleman's nose in our general direction. And it stopped, I crap you not, a foot from the desk. And old Drew grabbed some tissue and picked it up because he was going to help them bring it to medical so that they could reattach it, which, by the way, is not a possibility. You cannot reattach a nose because they're all capillary beds. There's no vein to bring blood to it to reattach. It's a very, very touchy surgery they had to do to put this guy back together. Tons of money. And they actually did a pretty damn remarkable job because I was at the prison long enough for to see him fixed. But what's crazy is one of the only people I know from all of my federal time that I speak to, there's only one that I speak to that I did time with. And he was there for that incident. Like not there as a witness. But,
wow.
He was on the yard and he was my next door neighbor. And when I came back, he already heard the story before I came back. And he got right in my vent. He goes, "Is it really who they said it was?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Did he really lose his nose?" I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "How is that possible?" And I told him what happened. But right after it was done, Sergeant starts walking to me. And this is a big black guy. I mean, he's Green Mile big. He's just and he's an artist, the most gifted airbrush dude. I mean, like magic, right? Like he can make anything happen with an airbrush, but the biggest dude. And he comes storming to me like this. And I thought, "Oh, here we go, dude. Here we go," right? Because he's already in trouble. I'm thinking, what did I do? I was trying to get the guy a patty. Then he comes walking up and he goes, "Hey, Rocco, I didn't mean any disrespect spitting that thing at your desk." He's like, "For real, man." He goes, "I was just getting it out of my mouth because it was disgusting." I was like, "Yeah, we're good." You know what I mean? No trouble, bud.
Yeah, we're okay.
You know what I mean? Stay
we're
down,
okay.
Right?
We're all right.
Stay down. You know what I mean? Because it ain't gonna get better from here, bro. Stay down. Because they're sending you to ADX from here. I promise you. That's
right.
you sent up for the remainder of eternity. And yes, Mary, every prison inmate has a counselor and a case manager. when I was in the state, that was the case. When I was in the feds, that was the case. Same with you?
Yeah. You did have a counselor that you had to go to get things done or whatever.
Right.
The scariest thing,
and then a caseworker.
I was going to say that the difference is the scariest thing I saw was probably the guy going off the third tier and what happened. Now, the most shocking thing I saw was when that guy got his head taken off with a 45-pound dumbbell, but that didn't scare me. So there's a difference between scary and shocking in prison.
Right.
So
I'll be
when you see
honest,
somebody's
those
half
things
a head
terrified me.
yeah, I bet.
but I mean,
it
wasn't the gore. It was that, like, I had seen so many weird movies in my life that once this guy started biting people's, like, faces off, I thought, I'm next. I think this is a really interesting question, Penny.
Go ahead.
She says, how can people who commit the worst crimes against women, like Euron Vandersloot or Robert Chambers or Scott Peterson, have women wanting to be with them? I don't understand that thinking. Well, let me see if I can help you with this. In my opinion, I think that women that fall in love with guys on the inside who have life sentences do so because they can't be with the people, not because they can be with the people. I think that very often there was a relationship at some point in their past that might be dad, might be somebody, but there was somebody that like, to them, that is a relationship that they can cope with. It's a person that they can write "I love you" to, but they're never going to have to go out to dinner with. They're never going to have to do shopping. They can go and visit them, hug and kiss, have a relationship, and never feel any of the pressure. And for some people, I think it works. Honest to God, I think for some people it's something that works. But it's a bizarre. It does not make sense to me at all. But of course, in every single one of those situations, you have people that either believe that one of two things is happening. They're either innocent, right? Or, well, that was before they met me. Because you don't know Ted Bundy like I know Ted Bundy, right? The Ted Bundy I know, right?
Yeah.
Wow,
the
the
guys,
escaped prisoners
especially
walked by my dad on the lake. Did you see that? Read that.
Oh wow. Oh, so the guys that got out through the tunnel to the trains. Yeah, okay. On Folsom Lake.
And I had a corrections officer girlfriend that worked at Folsom Prison. Yeah. That's the great start to a country and western song.
That is.
If it's not, it should be. I had a girl worked at old Folsom. Okay, that's not a country and western song.
Man,
I think a lot of women either want the fame or they think they can change them. I'll be honest. It's a bizarre thing, but when you get out of prison, and I've said a million times, there's a look in people's eyes that they see when you find out. I mean, when they find out that you've been to prison, there's a look that changes. And there's a look for some people that changes in a very different way. Mm-hmm. There are a group of women out there that, for whatever reason, are really preoccupied with guys that have done time. There really is almost a groupie quality of strangeness to that whole thing, especially when you get out. Like when you first get out, it's strange how women seem to want to be around you. Mm-hmm. It was an odd thing to me because I thought that women would be repulsed. And I remember the first time getting out of prison and literally being swamped. Every girl I knew prior to me going in called and just said, "What are you doing? Let's get together. Let's eat something." And I was like, I wasn't even particularly close with these people before I went in.
The bad boy image.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I had a friend that used to say, he'd go, "Look around, bro. If women didn't like outlaws, this place would be empty." But, they can like you. It doesn't do you a lot of good if you lock them in prison, though, does it?
And right. Yeah, Nat, you're right. A lot of them do it for fame because you think, Manson was married, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in prison, and
Yeah.
she's when he after he died, she's trying to cash in on everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, nobody wanted to go to bed with that guy.
I think Valerie's got a good answer. Valerie says, Deming and Henny, I think it's complex. Like it's part of that whole wanting a bad boy thing. And then there's an odd feeling of safety and also good ego in a way with someone who is dangerous, right? And kind of famous. I get
Mhm.
that. I think that's actually a pretty decent analysis, Valerie. I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah,
How about this? This is fun. Do I think Drew Peterson is guilty? Nat B, let me throw you a bone here. I'll go better than that. Drew Peterson is guilty. Stone cold fact. I promise you. And I know.
wasn't
I know because he
wasn't
told
that
me.
that other guy Scott Peterson?
The Drew Peterson is the one I'm referring to because Drew, I know Drew's
Yeah.
story. Drew was in the feds. That man told me exactly what happened. And I'm going to be telling the entire world on Esoteric Atlanta with Bryce. That video
I got to
is
get
going to
over there and
be
watch
out.
that.
Video is going to be out, I believe, next week. Where what happened to his missing wife, we're going to tell you. It's no joke either. Crazy but true. And what's even crazier is you would think that other people would have been really hot for that information. They're not. Drew is guilty as sin. Yeah, he is. Drew is guilty
Yeah,
as sin. There's no doubt about it. He is absolutely guilty. And not only is he guilty, but I promise you he's guilty for a bunch of crap they didn't catch him for. Like he was really a pretty twisted individual. And you've never met anybody on planet Earth that dug 15 minutes of fame more than that man. Like he got off to it. And he still thinks he's living it. Like he wrote a letter to some guy's girl and set the entire thing up from prison. And the guy took the letter, mailed it to the National Enquirer, and the headline read, Drew Peterson steals my wife from prison. Right?
mm.
Now, the whole thing's a setup between Drew and this convict that had just left. And the idea was the guy sold the thing. I don't remember what it was. It was dirt. It was like $5,000 or something like that. And he was supposed to put 2,500 on Drew's books. I don't remember what Drew did get paid out of it. I don't remember what, but he's always working some kind of con. He's always working, I mean, he's not doing it for the money. He's doing it to be relevant. Like he wants to be in the
Right.
news. The good old days where every channel you turned on had Drew's face on it. Like he got off to that like no other person in the world. He
Right.
really did.
You got to think. I mean, people act the way that it's like Manson. He didn't act that way in the joint that he did on camera. He didn't act that way. I was in corporate, and I wasn't around him, but I knew people that were, and he was in corporate shoe. He didn't act that way
Right.
at all. He was a punk, basically. He really was. He was a punk. And that's what he got. But once he got on front of the camera, all that crap started.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. If he'd have got out, he'd have got killed. Somebody would have killed him in a heartbeat. They tried to in there. They threw gas on him.
They tried to light him on fire in there. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. That bomb. They used to give
Cindy
you little matches.
Plumley says, can't believe Bundy got married and had a daughter, but he did. You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yep. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it really is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Prison pen pals turn to real life love. Look, I'll tell you something, people. I married my attorney, right? And that's a very unlikely relationship. But relationships blossom out of, and you take two people that have any kind of chemistry and you shove them into a stressful kind of a situation. And I had this girl who liked me pretty quickly from Jump Street and is now fighting not just for a client, but for a guy that she'd like to marry. And I don't think we ever had a chance, sadly. She was a really kind individual when I met her, but it really is that I don't know. It's a very hard way to start a relationship, you know.
I never got that lucky.
Chicago, Debbie says Chicago here. You talked with Drew. Yeah, Debbie, Drew was hidden in the federal system. And Drew and I were co-employees. We both worked for the same guy in an office. So basically an 8x14 for about, I don't know, 2,000 hours, something like that. I was stuck in that little box with that dude. We worked a 40-hour-a-week job forever. You know, I mean, I worked with him for over a year and a half. So a lot of time I spent talking with Drew Peterson. More time than you would ever want to have to spend talking to Drew Peterson. I promise you. Bundy should not have represented himself is an absolute fact. Nobody should represent themselves. I don't care who you are. You should never represent yourself. It doesn't work out well ever.
Right. I was fired my public defender because then the state would have to give you an attorney. Yeah.
Conflict
and
attorney.
That was such a better attorney.
Pay attention, people. This is How to Work the System 101 by my convict brother Russ, because he's right.
Yep.
A little known fact is this: if a client gets into a beef with the public defender's office, and they're not a jackass, they don't bite somebody, right? But they're articulate and they say, hey, you know what? There's a fundamental disagreement that I'm not going to be able to get over. I promise you. And you can get the judge to say the public defender's office isn't going to work with him. Their only other option is to hire a local attorney, and they do it in a pool. So they all take turns going through this pool. And these are good lawyers, right? These are really top-notch lawyers. And very often you can get an attorney who would have cost you $20,000 for a retainer for not $1 out of your pocket, which is crazy, right? I had a cellmate who had the same attorney I did. He got him in the pool, and I paid out the wazoo. And neither of us got a good deal. He was too old at that point. He was riding on his name, unfortunately.
Yeah, I got mine out a couple times, but
yeah,
other times
P,
made up for it.
Yeah, no question, right?
Yep. All right.
Manson always said he was happy in jail. What do you think? Do you believe him?
No. No. He would cry. Yeah. He would cry. He you gotta understand, this guy was like 5'4", 100 pounds. Anytime he'd do anything, he would get punked. He made what is it, like paper mache spiders and flies and spider webs,
all little hustles. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just an odd.
I heard it.
Yeah.
So out in the desert, I got to answer because I think you're going to love this. Debbie P says, "I'm sorry that you got stuck with him." She's referring to Drew. You know the good news? Here's the good news. The good news is that we're going to shoot a video, and we're doing everything within our power. And I've already tried in the past to reach out to Drew's son. Drew's son had sent me an email. I emailed him back. He never emailed me because I would like to tell his daughter that her mom did not run off on her, right? Because that's the story that she's gotten from her dad her entire life, and that's a lie. And you know what? It would suck to have your mom be killed by your dad, but it would not suck as bad as as your mom just walking out because she didn't care. And that's the line of crap that he's been telling the entire world since she disappeared. And I assure you, as you will find out soon, that's not what happened. Manson was happy to be famous. Do you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah, I was just replying to that's all you had to keep him in the papers, keep him relevant, so he would do dumb stuff. That's it, just to keep up the roof.
You know what I don't understand? I mean, aside from the obvious, like simple math, my left from my right, that kind of stuff. I don't understand how Manson was able to do the number of interviews that he was able to do. Like, I'm not allowed to do interviews from prison. Like, I couldn't do them from the feds. I could do them
That's
over a
true.
telephone, but I could never do a sit down
Right.
thing like he did.
Right. With 50 minutes or
I
anything like
appreciate
that or
that,
whatever.
Kevin. Yeah, I mean, why did just his notoriety, is that the reason that Manson was allowed to get interviewed by every swinging, by
From
everybody
what
with
I
a
heard,
microphone?
he would dangle stuff in front of people or tell them what they want to hear, and then he would go off on
Right.
his own script. From what I understand,
Yeah.
I never really sat
That's
down and talked to him, so but
well,
that's been rumor I heard.
I have deep dived the ever loving crap out of Charles Manson. I'm fascinated by the Manson case, and I don't mean the Tate LaBianca murders and all that part of it to me. The part that's fascinating is what happened to Manson before all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Manson
Right.
got out of prison, a pretty normal, just piece of crap street criminal, right? Went into prison that way, came out, found a place in San Francisco that he started to go hang out where they were doing a whole lot of acid. And it's one of those 3-letter agencies. And then he did a crap load of Dianetics auditing with the Church of Scientology. Damn straight. Martha Simmons, Martha must do FOIA. Martha, I love you. I really do. Martha must do FOIA because, he really was part of MK Ultra, and it really was in the hate. At least I believe it was. And the most recent book on Manson goes into this in great detail. What is it called? Chaos? Is that the name of the book? If it's not, one of my 98 producers will fix me on that. You guys
right.
You know what I mean? I may not know what's going on, but they always do. Debbie, I knew what you meant. Maybe that's really weird too, because I thought that's what you said. She said something else. I swear to you, I read that. Isn't that weird? How your head puts things together? Maybe I'm just arrogant, Debbie, because that's what I thought I read the first time. What was your last day or night in jail like? Good question.
Me or you?
She's asking both of us, but this is a great question.
I remember my last day, my last night.
Tell me about it.
Because I remember we had night yard, and I was on the yard, and I had heard some rumblings about a problem that was going to happen between the Mexicans and the whites. And my cellie was out on the yard too, the key holders. So something happened. Some dude got hit, and the alarm went off. So everybody hit the ground. When the alarm goes off, they hit the ground. The dude got hit. They were fighting. And all I hear, the whole yard is quiet. I hear my name being yelled by my cellie. Where are you? And I'd raise my hand and I waved at him, over here. He goes, stay the F there.
Right. Don't move.
Don't move.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Martha Simmons. It is Chaos by Tom O'Neill. So my last night in prison for my third prison sentence, this last one, I really, there was no chance whatsoever for me. There just wasn't. The really odd thing was that because of the fact that the whole C+ math thing was going on, they had a very weird way. We were on lockdown anyway. So you were in like an assembly line to leave. So my cellmate was also getting ready to leave. So we had both just got dumped in there together. So he was leaving 3 days after I was. So the energy of the two of us, like that's normally not how it would be. Normally your cellmate's stuck there. I got a guy that's leaving a couple of days after I do. So I can be like, what's up? I'm leaving. Like I'm going home. I was pretty fired up. So there was no chance of sleep. But I was telling somebody this today. I swear to God, until the gate closed behind me and I got in the van, I thought they were going to yank the carpet out from underneath me. I swear to God, I did. Oh, yeah. I thought they were going to go, you got a warrant out of such and such a county. You got this out of
that hole. That hole will pop up. You're going through every crime
You
you
know
ever did in
what?
your mind.
Uh,
I hope I get away with it.
right. I mean, honestly, until the door closed, I didn't think there was a chance that they were really going to let
Right.
me out of there. I yeah, I didn't
Yep.
think there was a chance in hell that they would really let me out of there.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm
Martha,
out too, Larry.
I started watching The Dazed, but not Confused. I think that cat does really good research, man. I really do. I think he does really, really good research. Um, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of it. I've been taking it in little bites because I can't get through anything anymore. I've got so much crap going on, but it looked like he did an excellent job on it. Valerie has a question.
Yeah, I see that.
I've only just had a tiny taste of being institutionalized, and it really affected me negatively. How did you guys deal getting out with the day-to-day stuff? I don't know that I'm very good at it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No.
But I'm getting better every day. I really do. I mean, it is a constant thing for me to try to be doing a little bit better than I did yesterday.
Yeah.
And if I just keep, kind of going that route, I think that I'm probably going to end up, if not where I want to be, I'm going to end up close to where I want to be. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's my biggest thing was the respect thing that nobody out here has the respect that people do in there. It's because it's like people who bump into you, or you got manners. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Trip, over somebody, or
Yeah,
I'm real big on respect. And they don't have it out when you get out. So getting used to that was the hardest thing for me.
no
Knowing I
question.
don't have to
One
turn
of
around. I don't have to turn around and smack them in the mouth to let them know.
yeah,
Don't think I won't,
yeah.
but I couldn't. So that was the biggest
That's
thing.
the hardest adjustment. The hardest adjustment is that you have to sit there and come to the realization that I'm watching somebody do something that is so heinously disrespectful to somebody else, to me, to whatever, and I can't do
Hmm.
what needs to be done. It's because for
Right.
about 13 years of your life, if somebody's going to be that disrespectful, I can peel off from that conversation. I can walk right up to my shot collar and go, "This is what dude's saying. I would like the opportunity to go hands on with your boy. Right? Can we catch a cell?" And I knew the
Ding
shot
ding.
callers
Go right
everywhere I
ahead.
was, and they would go, "Handle it." Right? I never
Yep.
had anybody turn me down, man. I'd go in there and they'd go,
Straight to
"Go
the
handle it." And then
Thunderdome.
you get into the real world. There's plenty of guys worth slapping around, but you just can't do it.
Yep. Okay. I got my boy coming over
Kathy
here in
says,
about 5 minutes.
okay, well, we're almost up here. Kathy Ann says,
Yeah, that'll work.
may have answered this before, but what was your single most emotional day while in, or the most impactful moment? Well, I made a very serious error and I punched an officer in the face. In the process of that happening, he fell down and cut himself very dramatically. I found myself handcuffed with my hands above my head for a very, 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 very long period of time through a set of bars like this, right? And over the course of the 3+ hours that I hung there, a series of COs came by and worked me like I was a heavy bag. Like they would
Uh-huh.
come in, open the door, go, "Hoy, hoy, hoy," I'll give me 2 or 3 in the side, a couple of shots to the side and to the lats, and then they'd walk out. And by the end, I was just hanging. I couldn't even stand up, and I was just in really, really bad shape. So that was probably not the banner day. I think that one,
Right.
and one of those watershed moments in my life where everything changed. True story. I talked about it on a couple of different shows, so I won't bore you. But that was the moment that I just let go and just said, "You know what? I'm not going to hate anymore. You
Right.
can't make me. You can make me do a lot of other crap. You can beat the crap out of me. You can handcuff me, right? But you can't make me hate you." And
Right.
I honestly got to a point where that was my mantra. Like, you know what? You can't make me hate you. I'm just not going to let it
Yep.
happen. And it changed a lot of crap for me.
They did.
You know what? We can't read just yet because this one's a good one. Martha Simmons says, question. So what's the most helpful thing a friend or family can do or know when a person you care about gets out of prison? I think, in my opinion, Russ, and I definitely want to hear yours, but in my opinion, the most important thing that you can do is let them realize that it's okay, that you're scared to crap. And if you have to say, hey, man, I'm scared, I understand. I watched this show where guys, big dudes, big dudes that got out and said it was scary as hell, because it is.
Yeah.
And if they've got someone that they can call and just say, I'm a little freaked out about, it could be the dumbest crap in the whole world, but for a convict, sometimes getting your ID can be enough to send you to go get a bag, right? Because it just seems like it's so foreign to a world that you 13 years removed from. I'm going to go walk into a department of motor friggin' vehicles. Are you kidding me right now? Right? With crowds and everything else, I'm going to go walk into the DMV after 13 years in the joint. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, and I have to get this license. Like, without this, there's no future for me.
Right.
And I was terrified.
I walked into a McDonald's.
I was in a place where I could say, I'm scared crapless. And I did. I said to a woman, I'm too scared to go to the DMV. and this woman was like, if I got to hold your hand, you're going to the DMV. We're going to get you there.
It's weird.
What would be your advice?
Mine? When you get out, take your time. Do not rush anywhere. Because, I got out. They took me to a bus station next to a McDonald's. And I was freaked out to go into McDonald's. I went right to the bathroom. I didn't want to go out in the lobby. There was too many people. I wasn't used to that. I was used to level 3, level 4,
No crowd. I don't want crowds. To this day, I can't stand crowds. This is going to sound like a cool guy thing, and I swear to God, it's not a cool guy thing. But my brother and I went out today, and we were just to go shopping, and got recognized. And it's really cool when somebody does that. Right? It happens. It doesn't happen a lot when I'm alone, but it happens a lot when I'm with Johnny. And it's I'm still not 100% comfortable with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird thing when everybody knows you and you don't know them, right? That's kind of a weird thing. And I'll be really honest, man. I'm a lot more comfortable locked up in my house. I was talking about it today. I like, and the house was a move to a place with a lot less, like I don't see neighbors right now, which was I'm in a city, but I don't have to look at neighbors. Like, I really kind of planned this one better because I am not right. I don't know that I'm ever going to be right. I don't think Russ is ever going to be right. I know he's not, because we've talked about this. This it does affect you for the rest of your time on the planet. And what you hope is that the good days outweigh the bad ones, because I'm definitely scarred. And I'm telling you this, people, I want everybody to hear this, right? So make no bones about this. I have identified the gummy that I'm going to be trying. And I am going to try it tomorrow night. I'm going to let everybody know how this works, because my nightmares are still of a variety that are making my life awful, right? And I've got it on good authority that this stuff's going to knock me out. And you know what? I've always said this isn't an anti-drug channel. If it's weed that's going to be what gets me to sleep, I promise you, people, the only time I'm ever going to take it is right before I go to bed. I just want to go to sleep with a friggin' nightmare. And at this point, everything else I've tried has failed. So we're going to find out tomorrow night. Valerie, these two guys love you too.
I got to unlock the door. I got to unlock my front door. My son.
I ran him so long that so I apologize. But we did run a little over. You know what? I hope it works out too, Laurie. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. Because I might get caught up in a. You know what it is? It's just that I don't like crowds. I don't like, after spending so much time in prison where you notice if 3 people like you're walking around and you 3 people become 5, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, something's about to go off, and spidey senses and things start tingling. And over the course of time, you get older, but you never forget that stuff, and you get into the real world and you start getting weird. And being in a crowd is one thing, right? But I occasionally find myself in a crowd where everybody knows me. You know what I mean? And it's really strange because you get all of these people that come up and go, "Hey, Tom, how you doing?" I used to be a very outgoing person before prison. I would consider myself fairly outgoing. These days, I'm not much. I really am not. I wish I was a little bit more social. I don't. This is going to sound so awful, but it's very rare that I run across people that I really dig hanging out with. You know, yeah, there's something to that too, Martha. I think there's probably something to that when you're scrutinized. I mean, we do a lot of stuff where we kind of put it out there, so it's nice to occasionally not put it out there. All right, people. We went a little long. I apologize. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. This little beast in the basket, that's Squirrel Nut Zipper. And on the other side of the glass is Russ Wood. Thank you, my man.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, we'll see you next time.
Next week. All right, brother.
All right. Later.
Late.